Welcome back to our show. Lucky enough to have Kevin Daniels with Northwest Resumes joining me. Kevin, how are you, man?
I am doing well, Ben.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. I saw actually, I always like to watch your Facebook stuff. And, with all the football things going on, you being a big football fan, of course, the Seahawks game was fun. But then I saw a post that you wrote about the 5 people who showed up for the Tim Tebow deal.
Right. Right.
It's pretty funny.
I thought that was rather humorous.
It is. It's amazing what people will get excited for and what they won't. And I guess when you don't have a winning team, it's tough to draw attention to anything.
Right. And what a wonderful segue.
Yeah, right. Well, it is. That's how I do things around here,
I was also going to say you might want to speak up because I have almost no hearing left after having been at the Seahawks game the other night.
That was a fun one, man. I'll tell you. It took me till about this morning to recover.
It was pretty cool. Other than the lightning delay, it was.
It left for a few extra beers to be had.
Well, yes. And many people were partaking, I know.
About 67,000. Yeah. So, Kevin, of course, you had this Facebook post about a team not drawing a lot of attention. And being in the resume world, I imagine that no matter how you produce your resume, if you're not employable, it doesn't really matter what you do. If it's on paper, if it's on the internet, if it's on video. I mean, at some point in time, you have to at least have some credentials or experience or something.
Right. Well, absolutely. And you make a good point that the way that folks are choosing to promote themselves, obviously has evolved quite a bit through the years. And in the past several years, it has evolved even more to the point where there were a lot of articles being written 6 or 7 years ago about sort of like the death of the resume, and you better prepare for within the next few years it's all going to be video resumes. That's what people were saying for a while. There's just going to be much more modern technology, much more emphasis on graphics, et cetera, et cetera. And this was predicted, 6-7 years ago that, the traditional resume as we know it had a pretty short shelf life remaining. And that has turned out to not be the case. And in fact, today it's pretty much, how often do you ever see any job postings where they say anything other than submit your resume in a Word document or submit your resume, in a plain text document or directly on the thing. They don't,
well, nobody's got time to watch 9-minute videos for everybody who submits something.
Right. Well, there's a number. You can create a short video, but we'll get into that in a second. But you're right. There's so many different problems with. There's many different ways now that you can promote yourself. A video resume is just one. But you're right. The common thread is still the same. If you don't do it well, there's really no point. It's the same thing with a traditional resume. And because of the fact that it's just not a universally accepted thing, if you put all of your eggs in one basket and only have like one of these things, like only have a video resume, only have one of these graphic representation resumes, only have a LinkedIn site, you're just not. You've got to have at least in your back pocket. I'm a fan of exploring new things and exploring technology, but today you have to have at least always in your back pocket still that traditional resume version. And in creating that resume, you can try to adopt some of the principles that are kind of cool about these other technologies, and you can try to, so you can say, well, one of the things I liked about this slideshow resume I saw was that it was really, really concise with quick little sound bites, essentially, and just little quick phrases, pictures, and that kind of thing. And it really quickly got, and I'm going to send folks to a site if they're interested in these things in a second to look at that. what I'm talking about. But you might look at it and go, gosh, I really liked those elements about that. How can I make my paper resume a little bit more like that? So just trying to be as concise as you possibly can in the writing, perhaps using like a functional format to very much more focus on accomplishments rather than enumerating kind of the same responsibilities over and over again. So trying to trim down the verbiage, get to the point quicker, boom, 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 hit them with your points, as quickly as you can. So just trying to look at those different things, go, what elements from those things can I take and put into my traditional resume, rather than just putting all your eggs in one basket and just going for the one.
Would you?
One form.
Okay, yeah. So I guess in some ways, are you saying that maybe your paper or traditional resume can act as kind of a gateway to all of these other things?
Absolutely, and that was going to be my next point. Is a great thing to do, and this is why I always, I point people to LinkedIn profiles. I send people to LinkedIn profiles off their resume. So not just listing your email, your address, the different ways to contact you, but also putting like a hyperlink or if it's being used online, it's can act as a hyperlink, but just showing them where your LinkedIn profile is, et cetera. If you have anything else, if you have a personal website, some people like to have, that's another kind of modern form of a resume, is to have a personal website. You could point the folks to the personal website. So if they wanted to take the time and see you presented in a different way, they can go ahead and do that. So, there's just different ways of handling it. There's some really interesting sites out there, places where you can do this. So a couple different things. You can have kind of a different sort of a visual representation of your resume created, and it can sit out on a place on the internet. Or you can actually have a video thing done, or your own personal website page kind of a thing to be taken to. So one of those is, and I'm just going to throw these out there. These are just different things to explore. Re.view, so it's just the letters RE.V and the letters VU, about.me, flavors.me. Those are three really kind of cool sites where they take your resume, the content from your resume, and they just take out a lot of key elements and key points, present them in a different way, put them in sort of a cool format. Sometimes they create graphs if someone is like in sales, to sort of show growth and revenue through the years so that someone can get a visual presentation. So I don't see anything wrong with having those things out there as different, ways for folks to sort of see you and view what you've done. So they're all interesting possibilities.
It seems to me like if you're looking, I've hired lots of people, and I'm always, whether they put LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever or not, I'm looking anyways. Right? Or
right.
I'm if they don't have it on there, I'm almost wondering why they haven't put it on there. Because
exactly.
It seems so much better for at least the resumes I've reviewed. Like if it's in the header, right? All of a sudden you have a header. It's like, here's everything you could kind of want. Because
exactly.
A lot of people will go straight to LinkedIn and just go, well, I wonder who else they know. Seattle's still kind of a small city where everybody's like 1 or 2 degrees of separation, it seems like.
Right.
And so, I know at least in my own hiring process, it's kind of, I go to social media very quickly.
Right. Yeah, and this is the tendency, and so these are the realities of the modern world, and just I think that putting yourself out there in many different places on the web is, first of all, it's going to enhance your Google your Google placement, and then it's also just going to be more likely that folks are going to be able to find you. You really kind of want folks to be able to find you. That's kind of the point. So getting yourself out there in as many different places as possible is a cool thing to do. There's a site called Workfolio. That's WORKFOLIO. They are really, really good because they kind of specialize in creating a website for employment. So this is kind of like a website / resume. So that's a good one. And there's a number of them that aren't quite as good. The video resume thing, beware of that. There's a number of those. I mean, all you have to do is just Google video resumes, and you'll find those. One thing that is problematic about those, if you go to those sites and you kind of look into it further, you realize that they get very, very, very little traffic. So not a whole lot of traffic is being driven to those places on the web, and it's just something that you should be kind of aware of. The video resume thing, there's a lot of information about it out there. A lot of people are drawn to it. They think it's a cool idea.
You better have a pretty cool video, though.
Right, you do, and it's got to be. It has to be. It can't just be like a video taken on like one of those flip camera things.
Right,
like you sitting there.
A selfie video.
There's a ton of really, really incredibly bad ones out there, and it's just like, are you really adding to what you're doing to promote yourself by creating this thing and putting it out there?
Or are you just reading your resume?
Exactly. And some of them are like that. So there's just there's actually a really interesting article on the internet that I found from someone from an HR person who's got a lot of good credentials, and they give their top 10 list of the reasons why they believe that video resumes are inferior to traditional resumes. One of them, first point that they make is they can't skim the content in a non-linear manner. So if you've been a hiring manager, recruiter, or interviewer, you know what this person means. Nobody reads a resume like a book from beginning to end. You glance at key elements like job titles, employer names, dates of employment, that kind of thing. So it's impossible to do that with a video resume. You're almost like locked in. You're sort of forced to sit there and watch the entire thing. The other thing is you can't really listen to a recorded voice as fast as you can read text.
Yeah.
And, some of these, this might be a little disconcerting, but this particular person says that they actually skim each resume in as little as 5 to 10 seconds before they make a decision as to whether they want to read any more, and then they go on to the next one.
I wouldn't doubt it, though. I mean, and we just have about a minute left, but it seems to me that a lot of people, and this is probably where you help them, but a lot of people who are maybe out looking for jobs are really interested in all the stuff they've done rather than being interested in what maybe the hiring manager is going through, and the fact they have 42 resumes, and they're probably going to pick 5 or 6 to take a second step with.
That's a great point, too. And these different promotional vehicles that are technology-driven and video-oriented, it's almost like they tend to bring that out in the person more, because it's almost like a sort of a voyeuristic sort of a thing. So, like, you're almost like in the mindset of, I got to talk about all these really cool, wonderful, things that I've done that make me terrific, but you're right. They might lose sight of the fact that they need to present their content in a manner that is meaningful to the person viewing. In this case, would be viewing something that speaks to how you're going to help them solve their problems, et cetera. And that is sometimes more likely to get lost when you get sort of caught up in all these different technologies. Yeah,
Kevin. Hey, we got to run a break. But certainly great information, and if you're out there looking at resumes or jobs, I mean, I just coming from a first perspective here, when people submit resumes to me for different items, there's no doubt. I mean, it could be 5 to 10 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, and you're glancing at it, and I mean, it's there's a lot I think that has to do with just the visual aspects of it. I mean, certainly not like pictures of your dog, but just the layout and whatnot has so much to do with it.
Just one more thing real quick. The first professional resume, Ben, was created by Da Vinci in 1482.
Yeah.
Imagine how bad the job market was back then if Leonardo da Vinci was looking for work.
I think he did okay. He became self-employed and invented like 4,000 things. So I guess nobody wanted to hire him. He was a little bit above their
Exactly.
He was too smart. Kevin, thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, we'll be right back after this break.